All right, y'all. Welcome to the Friday Experience. Hi, Mama. Man, what a week it has been. Tell Elgin to come upstairs, man. Nah, I told him if they yell one time, they're coming upstairs. Mm-hmm. So. Do.
Alright, LJ, come upstairs to that, because if you yell, you gotta come upstairs. Come upstairs.
Man.
Okay, are you done with this? Cause you just opened it.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm done with it. I got distracted in looking for the stand, and I still didn't find the stand. Oh, my cookie all twisted. All right, y'all, we're going to have a conversation today, y'all. Just give me some time to set everything up. So we need to have a conversation. How's everybody week? Y'all had a good week?
Involved. Very involved. Did we make it?
Yes, we did make it. There you go again. It's something with Facebook that's slowing down my computer. Yeah, something with Facebook that's slowing down my computer because it was just working fine. But as soon as I got on Facebook,
Facebook's the devil.
can't argue with you too much with that. True. All right, man. Look, I have my computer loading up because I really don't have the time today. I want to get in. I want to get out. Well, I do kind of want my Bible up for the sake of the scriptures, but you guys are gonna have to read the scriptures out loud for me, right? All right. Today we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness, reconciliation, and love. I think it's we've done a series on forgiveness. I shared those videos today, probably an hour or so before we started the experience. I know everyone's can't watch all of them before this experience, but I wanted to share those videos because we're seeing a lot of people. Everybody kind of knows what's going on with Brandt Jean, his murder being sentenced 10 years, and then the little brother pretty much saying, I forgive you, I love you, I don't want you to go to jail. And then he gives her a hug. And everybody has emotions about it. A lot of mixed opinions. And one of the things that kept coming up on the timeline, one of the consistent things that I've been seeing. Okay, Mama, do K at the table. One of the consistent things that I was seeing, it was two consistent things. One of those was dealing with the so-called slave religion. Thank you, Mama. Thank you. One of those dealing with the so-called slave religion, where everybody's saying that this is just another example of black people loving their master, since the police officer is white, and yeah, that's one that I've seen a lot of. And the other thing that I've seen was people saying they're getting mad that a lot of the Christians are contradicting themselves because now we're seeing forgiveness displayed as it's taught in the Bible, and not everybody's being upset. So before we even go into the scriptures, let's have a quick conversation. What do you guys, if you guys don't mind sharing, how do you feel about what was done? Do you feel any type of way about it? Any ideas, any opinions?
I mean, for me, if we're talking about, let's break it down to different segments. The brother forgiving her, that's his own prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his brother's been dead for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
Not like it happened yesterday. For whatever peace that he needs or needed, he felt it necessary to say what he had to say.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you just have to respect that that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Would that have been something that I would have personally done? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What I would probably say was probably more disturbing, more so was the judge who gave her a hug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, I have never seen a judge hug anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
In the courtroom.
In the courtroom. And so,
we know judges that hug.
Right, they're still people, but I've never seen
What's up, Tanya?
someone on camera
Mm-hmm.
in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was more overstepping than the brother's apology.
Nyla. Keep going.
Unless that's her thing, and then we just need evidence of her hugs after
Mercy.
every trial.
Like if that's just what she does.
If that's just what she does. And if that's what she does, then once again, then that's what she does. The issue that I have a lot of times is that a lot of black people in general, I haven't seen be consoled when they have been convicted of anything,
right?
Whether they did it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that all you gotta say about that?
People want to throw the Christian card around. At the end of the day, then people aren't even really Christian. They're just followers of their pastor.
Mercy.
And
mercy.
So what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Jesus forgave everybody.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day. I'm just not there.
Okay, that's fair. You want to add anything? Yeah, go ahead.
I've heard it's been said that forgiveness is simply setting a person free, only to realize that you were the one who was the prisoner.
Mm.
And in a lot of ways, I agree with that. And I think what is being missed is that the young man forgiving the woman that just took the life of his older brother, we're making it about her. We're making his forgiveness towards her about her, and the forgiveness has nothing to do with her and what she did, because it doesn't change what she did. It doesn't change who she is, because she is a murderer. However, what it is about himself. It's about his freedom, his restoration, ultimately his healing. Because bitterness is something that can imprison you and trap you for he can hold this for the rest of his life. And he feels that this is what is necessary to release him of that, to be free of that, so that he can continue, go forward and move on with his life. Because she's already suffering, she's going to continue to suffer, but he wants to be free of that. And I think that's the part that is being missed, because we want to say, oh, well, she doesn't deserve forgiveness. Well, whoa, we're Christians? Wait a minute now. If we're going to say that we're Christians, then we have to understand it doesn't matter what someone does to us. It does not compare to what we have done against God, but yet he chose to forgive us. So who are we? Who are we to not forgive, especially when an opportunity? We're not saying that it's easy, But I do believe that, when the will is there, that the Lord will help you, to release that person, to forgive that person, to heal and to move on with the rest of your life. Now, as far as everything else, like surrounding it, I agree that I thought it wasn't a good look for the judge to do it, simply because of the position that she was holding and her overseeing that courtroom. I just thought that was, I disagree with that. But I had no issue with the brother, hugging her and showing that display of forgiveness. I have absolutely no issue with that. And I think the people who do have a problem with that is because they harbor some kind of bitterness or anger or resentment. Because had it been a black woman, these same people that are upset wouldn't have anything to say. But because it's a white woman, and that's why I said earlier, like, when are we going to get past that? At the end of the day...
And a police officer.
Yeah, and a police officer. And I don't know whether or not that factored into the lightness of her sentence, because, I thought everyone agrees 10 years is, like, what is that? We have people that do not look like her, who's serving longer sentences for
for less
offenses, so first time offenses.
That's
so
something
I
to deal with.
understand the outrage over that. Definitely support forgiveness.
Okay.
Did y'all hear the audio of her 911 call?
Yes, I heard a little bit of it.
Today.
I heard a little bit of it, and I heard a little bit of it. Keep going, Ben. If there's more you want to say.
Yeah, she knew she was screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she knew she was screwed, and I mean she was telling him she was sorry then. Because I mean, in just the grand scheme of things, she did make a mistake. She went to the wrong apartment. It wasn't like she was particularly targeting him. However, mistake or not, you still have to pay for the mistake that you made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's what she's going through now. She's paying the price for the mistake that she made, and because she's an officer, and particularly because I think she's Caucasian, her sentence was lessened. You know what I'm saying? But that's just unfortunate, a part of the judicial system that we are a part of.
You just got me thinking about something else. You got me thinking about something else that I think we're definitely gonna have to deal with. But okay, so let's deal with this because y'all know I got a lot to say, but I don't want to talk yet. I don't want to talk yet. I want to get the ideas out. What is forgiveness? Because I think that, and you gave a great definition. But I want us to kind of go back, and those of you who are watching live, please join in. Type your comments. It's not just for those that are here, because I'll read your comments out loud. But what is forgiveness? We got to talk about what that is first. What is forgiveness? You guys are Googling it?
Oh, no. I mean, forgiveness is... forgiveness is the ability to release yourself from, emotional bondage.
Okay.
It may not be completely emotional, but I'm just going to say emotional bondage.
Okay.
Of an act or acts that have been performed or you have been accused with or of. And so basically forgiveness is your ability to understand what was done. Apply understanding, and then apply realistically peace or joy in replacing hurt. So it's really just, I would say, just a switching of energy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to put into words, but
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So it's a switching of energy from like what? From like a negative to a positive, pretty much. Is that a way to sum it up?
yes.
Okay. Okay, I could bang with that. Do you agree with that? Is that you think that it? Would you agree that that's what forgiveness is? It's okay, bro. Go
No, it's
ahead.
just another way of looking at it that I'm just kind of, I never really looked at it that way. I think of more forgiveness as parting someone
Okay.
or releasing or separating. I'm trying to find my words, but basically you just know you're choosing not to hold the wrong that they did to you against them. That's the gist of what I'm trying to say.
And the reason why I'm asking is because I think it's very important that we know what we're dealing with when we're talking about it. Because I guess I'll start talking now, and then I'll spark some ideas. We can keep going. What we're dealing with is not so much whether or not he forgave. I think, what's up, Sheila? I think those who are focusing on whether or not he forgave, they're looking at it from a very simplistic, maybe even narrow perspective, right? Because the question isn't so much did he forgive. And the reason why I'm saying this is because forgiveness is not an external thing. I'm going to say that again because I think that's very, very important. Forgiveness is not an external thing. Forgiveness is something that you do. Stop. Forgiveness is something that you do internally, in which you are releasing that person of responsibility, you're releasing that person of power, you're releasing that person of needing to make it right. It is an internal thing that can produce external responses. There are things that you do to show forgiveness. There are things that you do to express forgiveness. And I'm talking about on a human relational aspect. I'm dealing with that. Because, like if you're dealing with loan forgiveness and all these other, but the general basis of forgiveness is still the same. I am releasing you. You are no longer responsible of making this right. You still did wrong, but I'm not depending on you to make it right. That's forgiveness. That's all forgiveness is. I am not depending on you to make it right. It's gonna be made right though. But I'm no longer making it your responsibility to make it right. And the reason why forgiveness is so important is because if you don't forgive, then you are left with the bitterness and all that if that person chooses to never do right. If the person chooses to do right, then there is a possibility that, all that pain and whatever can go away. But if the person is a wicked person, if the person is vowed to serve Satan for the rest of their eternity, whatever, right? If they're just never going to change, then you're stuck with the pain and the burden and the stress that came from their wickedness, from their transgression, from their oppression. So what you do when you forgive someone, you're saying, I'm releasing you. When we talked about forgiveness last time, we dealt with that. It's a release. Forgiveness saying, I am releasing you from making this right. I am not releasing you from the consequences of your actions. I'm not saying that what you did was acceptable. I am simply saying I am not waiting on you to get it right. That is forgiveness. Any questions on that? So when you're dealing with forgiveness, or at least even when the Bible deals with forgiveness, because we are coming from that perspective, the Bible is dealing with forgiveness in that very same way. When Jesus forgives us of our sin, Jesus is literally saying, I am not depending on you to make this right. Literally is what Jesus is saying. Jesus, what he did was he made it right. He said, I'm going to make it right. It's not about you making it right. I'm going to make it right. And I think the difficulty with forgiving each other is that if I no longer depend on you to make it right, who's going to make it right? That becomes the question. That's like the unspoken question. Because somebody got to make it right. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. And this is not okay for me to be hurting. This is not okay for me to be in pain. Who's going to make it right? And the idea that I have to make it right, some people accept it, some people don't. And then how do I make it right becomes the other question. So it's a very pregnated issue, in which case things need to be worked out. In other words, things need to be worked out. I just saw a post before we got on here that said forgiveness may take a few hours, and I don't know the perspective in which they're coming from when they deal with that. But I would argue that to fully release somebody from the responsibility of making it right, it takes some time for you to process and to acknowledge and really even accept that this was done, and that there's no coming back, or there's no, not coming back, that's the wrong word, but there's no reversing what they did. What we can reverse is the consequences that affects me in what they did. In other words, if somebody crashes into my car, I could say I forgive you, but my car is still damaged. Right? So if I am releasing them from making it right, then it is, I got it. Don't even worry about it. I got it, right? So we may say that I got it. Don't even worry about it. I'm gonna take care of it, right? And even that is, do you have insurance? You don't have any insurance. If you're saying, okay, well, I'm gonna go get that money, right? Because I don't have it to make it right. It's like I'm okay emotionally, and I think that's the other thing. We will forgive people on an emotional level, or at least attempt to forgive people on an emotional level. But on a physical level, I still want justice. And I think this is where the dialogue comes. And we're going to go back to this guy because I think it's really deep. The dialogue is in forgiving someone and still receiving justice. Because the problem that's happening in society now is that we are picking and choosing who we are going to forgive. Where there is not a set standard in society, at least, as to who gets to be forgiven and who doesn't get forgiven. The other thing that I was seeing on Facebook, a lot of people were saying, is that black people are quick to forgive white folk, but not quick to forgive black folk. I thought that was real interesting, right? Didn't think about it like that. I saw a meme where it was a picture of R. Kelly said, I heard y'all forgiving folks now, right? And I thought that was hilarious, right? I thought that was hilarious.
Makes a good point.
But I have to sit there and think about it and say, because we're not going to forgive Bill Cosby.
Mercy.
We're not going to forgive Michael Jackson.
Nope. Even though he didn't do nothing. Go ahead.
So, and I'm not, and I want to be clear, I'm not arguing whether you should or should not. That's not my argument. What I am saying is there is some validity to the reality that we choose who to forgive. And the truth of the matter is, in many cases, not in this specific case with both in John's brother, not in his case, but in most of our personal cases, we only forgive those who we want to maintain relationship with. If I don't want to maintain a relationship with you, then I can hold this grudge forever. That's the motif that we have. And the reality is, when you're holding that grudge, you said it best. When you're holding that grudge, that is you holding that grudge. That does nothing to the person. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna be 100 with you. Hey, what's going on, sis? I'm gonna be 100. I got some bill collectors right now that keep calling me, and they could keep calling me. I'm living my life. It'll be easier for them to just forgive it. Just let it go, because you keep calling me, it don't even bother me. And now I could block it the moment you change that number, call me on different. I could block it that first call. Like, oh, I know you are. Click, block. Keep trying, right? It's the stress on them. But we don't realize how emotionally and even spiritually we're doing the same thing to people that have offended us. We will hold the grudge. I'm gonna wait to go to this text. I'm gonna wait to go to the text. So we have to deal with the reality that forgiveness is the better way to deal with your pain, to deal with your trauma, because that is how you release yourself from being held bound from what somebody else did. They did it. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, right? They may not make it right. They may make it right, but they may not make it right. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth me being bound until they get it right? Or aren't I worthy of being healed?
Right.
Aren't I worthy of being able to move forward? And if you can say yes to that, then you should forgive without question. But if you feel like, no, I deserve to be mad, and I deserve to be angry, and I deserve to be in pain, then fine. If you want to live your life angry and in pain, you can do that. But that's going to produce cancer. You're going to be bald-headed. Like, there are things connected to that. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be a beautiful life. You know what I mean? But you want to live like that, that's fine.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I don't know which one's worse.
Cancer takes out the hair. Right.
Oh, I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah, I didn't even think.
Not what he meant, though.
That's not what I meant. I meant either or, right? I was like one or the other, maybe both, but one or the other, right? Could he have forgiven her? And this is more of a subjective question, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Could he have forgiven her without hugging her?
Of course.
Yeah. Sure. If that's what he needed to do was to hug her to like demonstrate what he already was feeling on the inside, then that's what he did. But you don't think it was okay, this plus this and a hug. I forgive you. No.
Okay.
And I still think that hug was more for him than it was for her.
So then he couldn't have.
He personally needed that. So
right.
That's what his method of expressing that was.
So then he needed to hug her then. So he couldn't have forgiven her without hugging her.
Of course.
Like he could not have.
No, he could have.
But if he needed it, then he couldn't have.
You would have had to ask him. I feel like that would be a question he would have to ask.
And that's why I'm saying it's a subjective question.
That's personal. But to say that, I didn't hug her, so that therefore I can't forgive her.
Like
I don't think we're saying that. I think we're just saying that he wants to show that he forgiven her, and he chose to do it in that way. Mm-hmm. But him forgiving her was for himself, so he can be well.
But what other opportunity would he have had?
Mm-hmm.
What is the time difference from when he's seen her in that courtroom to when she was free again? Would he have had a chance to quote unquote hug her to show her, to display that level of forgiveness? Yeah. Like he's not holding it above her head no more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. So
some moments just come and you gotta just take advantage of it while it's there.
So was it? All right, I'll ask this question because I'm hearing y'all, but I want some clarity, just to be sure that I understand. So you say he could have forgave her without hugging her, but he wanted to show that he forgave her. That's why he hugged her.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to show it because that was important for him.
Yep.
At least that's what we're assuming because we didn't talk to him.
Right. That's important for him because that ain't me. So.
Yeah. I mean, I get, but
he wouldn't have been wrong if he chose not to do it either.
But I'm not dealing with a right or wrong yet. I'm not dealing with a right or wrong yet. I'm dealing more with it because the issue is not that I forgave you. Mm-hmm. I would argue. Okay, first off, let me say this: there's gonna be some people that are always gonna be mad. It don't matter. It don't matter. The fact that he didn't want to blow her brains out, they're just gonna be upset, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not really dealing with those people because they just want to be angry, and I don't have time to stay angry. Yeah, like I'm sorry, I'm releasing myself of all that. Like I'm gonna get mad, and then I'm going to release that. Like I'm not gonna be the one to harbor that energy. You know, that's me. So those who if you're one who want to harbor anger, we ain't gonna really like the rest of this. You might as well clock out now, right? Because that's just saying I don't even promote that. But I think it is because the issue, and we're going to deal with it from a communal level, and I promise you we'll deal with some scripture. The issue is not just that I forgive you. The issue is I am hugging you, though you are the one who killed my brother. And I think some people have an issue with that display. In their minds, that display, not only was it unnecessary, but it's a trigger of the black experience. Of constantly having to make the oppressor feel better for oppressing us. Like that. So in other words, so it's like, let's use slavery as an example, right? I'm going to just say white folks. If you white, you know you white, right? White folk don't like talking about slavery. When they because it's a wrong that they are really powerless to correct. They can't do anything about it. If they were to try to pay us back our worth from the work that we did in today's value, they if they printed that much money, the economy would collapse. No, I'm talking about because first of all, our money ain't worth nothing now. But if they were to, there still is a balance on how much they're releasing publicly. If they release that into the economy, it would literally turn everything into monopoly money. It would just be ridiculous because that's how much they owe us. They owe us a ridiculous amount of money. Like it's just bonkers, right? They can never pay that back. They know they can't pay that back. So they try to make up, some try to make up for it in law, policies, etc., affirmative action. Then others just say, look, it was messed up, but there's nothing we could do about it. So let's just let it go. The problem is we are still affected by what happened. So while you can just let it go and just move on, hey, we're post-slavery now, right? You can live on with your life because the generational wealth that you accumulated, I could never accumulate. The avenues, the doors, because they're not creating land. So all the land that got distributed, we do title work. We see some of the deeds when it says U.S. government release acres of land, so all these names. We see it for ourselves. Ain't none of us getting that, generally speaking, right? There's no way to make it right. So they don't want to talk about it. But there are present effects of what's going on. Why am I saying this? Because there are some people who will agree, black people I'm speaking now specifically, who will agree with that and say, look, we can't make it right, so let's just not talk about it. The issue is if we don't talk about it, when we're coming up or when the next generation comes up and they're seeing all these families do this, then the third, and we're not capable of doing it, they need answers. Why aren't we able to do this? They're asking people even today, how come black people can't come together? Look, I used to gangbang, right? Who was I? I was talking to you, so I would mention it, right? We used to be on the block 40 deep. We'll be outside on the block 40 deep. We're not about to commit any crime. Like nothing illegal is going on. We're just on the block 40 deep at the park or whatever. Some of us playing ball or whatever the case is, but we'll be 40 deep. Just seeing us that deep warranted a threat and police would break us up. They don't know we're in a gang until they talk to us. They assume we're in a gang because we're black males specifically in the park. Where else are we supposed to hang out though? Like, so when you think it's a public place. So we're here and we all lived we all could walk home. Like it was everybody in the area. But just us coming together was a threat and they constantly broke us up. We're not the only example of that. They've been doing that for centuries. So then you ask the question, why can't black people come together? Because every time we come together, we get broken apart. But no one wants to deal with that. Because the people don't want to talk about the trauma that's passed down. Or even the trauma that's taught. Right? Broken families. People don't want to talk about how since our inception in this country, they've been breaking up families forever. So when was the last time in this country did we see examples of black families staying together? Like in the earlies, I said the earlies, in the early stages after freedom, we saw some examples, but they found ways to criminalize specifically the black man, to be honest. They found ways to criminalize the black man to remove him from the family. Why? Because psychologically, daddy wasn't around, and that's normal. That wasn't something that we did to ourselves. That's something we had. So when we're talking about solving the problem, how are we going to solve the problem? We need to discuss the source of the problem. That makes white people uncomfortable. So what we do now, we try to be politically correct so they don't feel uncomfortable. We say things in a way where they're not offended, even if it's true, because we don't want them to be uncomfortable. And that's just a matter of fact. Now, when you add the Christian component to it, it becomes that much more complicated Because what Christianity has been doing to black folks, and black people don't want to talk about it. Because we say Christ is above that. And Christ is above that. But then we get into arguments about why women can't be ordained. We get into arguments about why there is a black church and a white church. And we say, oh, let's all come together. But then one style is deemed more holier than another. Like there's a lot of cultural, there's issues that have to be worked out because these issues are steeped in the supremacy of white people. But we don't want to talk about it because it makes them uncomfortable. So we can talk about this all day and night. Even me putting this on video. There's some people saying he shouldn't be saying that on camera because it makes people uncomfortable. And so what happened with the hug wasn't so much. The forgiveness was not. Now the judge hugging her is a straight fool, right? I think everybody's kind of in agreement. Yeah, right. I don't even think you got to deal with that. That was just you shouldn't have hugged her, even though there is some rumor that she hesitated before she actually hugged her. But But now, you said something deep. If you're gonna hug her in the chambers. Why? Why not hug her in public? The reality is, we're not saying it, but there is a responsibility that we feel, and I want y'all to correct me. I believe that black people believe we have a responsibility to each other to represent ourselves a certain way. In other words, we're all black. So when we in here, we all black, we could, whatever, we just gonna do us, right? But when we are out in the public, there is a certain narrative that we're trying to push that every black person haven't even agreed to. But when somebody disagrees with that narrative that we're subconsciously trying to push, we feel some type of way. And those people who aren't connected, I guess, to the... How can I say that? Everybody with dark skin isn't connected to the black culture. Let me put it that way. You can be blackface, but still very disconnected to the black culture. And the only reason that that's an issue, because you don't understand the black experience, and when the white man sees you, you're still black. So you think, oh no, I'm just a person. Until you realize, no, you're not just a person. And you're trying to overcome racism by ignoring blackness and saying, oh, I'm not. And when I say ignoring blackness, what I mean is there is such a thing as black culture. There are things that we do that is us. It is African American. It did not come from Europe. It didn't even come from Africa. We've established a culture here. This is us. This is what we do. And then there are black people who say, I'm not a part of that for whatever reason. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. What I am saying is black people expect all of us to live up to this narrative. Then when we don't live up to this narrative, we're disappointed at that black person. And there's a reality that white person still looks at you like a black person, no matter how much you try to act like you're not. So you may not like black parties, but guess what? You're still black, right? You might be a vegetarian, you're still black. You may not ever use hot sauce, but you're still black, right? That's just a matter of fact. And when they see you, there is a way that blackness is perceived in the white mind that you cannot escape from without overthrowing the system. But when you see someone almost, it looked like he was, and I'm not saying this is my personal views. I'm saying this is what it looked like in the masses. It looked like he was, I don't want to say bowing down, but almost like submitting to her. Someone asked this question, and we don't know the answer. Someone asked this question. If it was a black man that killed him, would he have forgiven so easily? And we don't know the answer to that. Mm-hmm. You know what this reminded a lot of people of? This reminded a lot of people of the Charleston shooting. Yeah. And everybody made it a point to publicly say, I forgive you. After you shot up 9 people in a church. Mm. They felt it necessary to publicly not say, look, what you did was messed up, but there's a God who's going to change you. You know what I mean? But we do that for each other. We will privately affirm each other when we do wrong, but not publicly. Mm. Like if one of ours got caught with 20 pounds of cocaine, we visit them in jail and say, you know what, God got you. But publicly, we say, yeah, that was wrong. You should have never did that. It's almost like the treatment's not the same. Y'all want to add anything to that? Y'all want to add anything to that? I see y'all watching. Okay, so I'll move forward. So then the question is, what does Jesus actually say? I wanna deal with there's so many verses I want to deal with, but I'm gonna first deal with Matthew 5. So I think this is the one that a lot of people, in a large extent, take out of context. Matthew 5, verse 38. If you have your Bibles, we finally got there, guys. Sheila said, generational wealth. Say that again for the people in the back. Facts. Oh, there's a video I want y'all to watch. Oh, I wish there was more y'all here, but I'm gonna put it on when we're done. Matthew chapter 5, verse. Someone can just start with verse 38. I'm gonna interrupt you while you're reading it. I'm just warning you now, so don't get offended. Anybody? Matthew 5, verse 38.
You have heard that it was said. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Okay, stop there. Y'all know that's Old Testament, right? Mm-hmm. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's Bible, right? I just want y'all to know. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's dealing with justice. It's dealing with you take my eye out, I take your eye out.
No, that's right.
You know that. So don't shout too soon, though. It's not saying you take my eye out and I burn your house down. That's you went too far. Okay, right? You take my eye out, I take your eye out. You take my tooth out, I take your tooth out. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's what the Old Testament is. That's law. That's law. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Baba. Go ahead, keep reading.
But I say to you, do not resist.
Wait. There's another part to it. Oh no. I'm sorry. I moved ahead. Go ahead, keep going.
But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Mm-hmm. And if anyone would sue you, take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow.
Okay, you can stop right there. What are y'all hearing with that? Like what do you hear with that?
It just seems extra to me.
Mm-hmm.
1 mile, they go with it too. I thought we were doing 2 for a 2, so why are we going 2 miles if we went 1?
And what you're seeing is, you're seeing how Jesus is stretching or fulfilling the law. That's what you're seeing. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. Jesus says something different, and it sounds like a bit much. Yeah, that's honest. Y'all want to add to it? Because y'all know I'm about to go in. I really want y'all to talk, so I'm just not the only one talking.
Does it have to do with... Does this have anything to do with empathy? Because that's like the undertone that I'm like getting right now.
Hey, you actually touched on something there, sir. We're going to deal with that. He touched on something. He really did. You wouldn't even know. But yes, to answer your question, yes, it does have something to do with empathy. As we understand empathy, it does. Okay. It does.
Because I just see this as like, for example, like I don't know, like let's say you have a family, right, and someone does something outrageous, like to the family. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, how could you do this? How, you know what I'm saying?" Like, I guess it's just teaching us how to like act to that, or how to react the right way. Because I guess the normal thing to do is like just shun the family member. Like, okay, you're out of the family, you had your chance. Like, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's kind of like toxic behavior. So you're just adding more fuel to the fire, and then it's just bad. Like, everything's bad now.
Now, what you're dealing with, which is very important, because we dealt with it a little bit, is reconciliation. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. Okay. But there is a point in what he's saying, and we're gonna dig into it. Because what you are saying it's not like what you're saying is wrong. It's just, and that's the thing when we deal with forgiveness, or even with this text, we apply reconciliation to it. Because we are, and this is a little prophetic, but it's honest. We're in a society that craves human connection so bad that they only look at a thing as beneficial to a relational result. In other words, as long as I can have a relationship in any way, this is good. So this is why people send nudes. This is why people compromise their standards. Because they want relationships so bad that in their mind, if this doesn't end with a relationship, a connection with another human being, there's no point in it. So we're looking at everything from a relational lens because that's what we are lacking. And we feel as long as I do whatever, X, Y, or Z, then it's going to lead to a relationship in terms of a connection. Jesus ain't even talking about relationship right now. Or at least not a relationship in the sense of this is a brother now. He is talking about really someone who's not considered a brother in how to respond to them. And so this is why I feel like it's so relevant to what's happening now. Because this sister, this police officer, a lot of us are not viewing this police officer as one of us. We're viewing the police officer as one of them. And it's not a matter of whether that's a correct or incorrect perspective. But the reality is there has been, through design, I believe in as, there has been a separation between each other where there is us and there is them. So Jesus is not dealing with how we deal with us. We dealt with this with the community building. When you're dealing with your intimate community, there's a way to work. But when you're dealing with outsiders, there's a way to work. And this is one of the things dealing with outsiders. And with the outsider, he's saying, if he smacks you, or with the evil one, Jesus calls him, the evil one smacks you, turn the other cheek. See, now, like, can we just be 100? If my brother punched me in the face, I'm going to be like, yo, you wildin'. Right? I'm not going to, it's not going to be an automatic fight because that's my brother. Like, you must be on something. Because I know you're going to punch me in the face. But if I don't know you, or if I don't like you, or if you're evil and you punch me in the face, hey, what you mean? Like, turn the other cheek. We about to scrap because you don't know me like that. Like if I get in a car accident on Sparkman, I'm gonna feel the type of way, right? If I'm driving and then I stop short and Abby hits me on the back, it's a whole different set of emotions. You know what I mean? Because it was my wife that hit me. It's not the same. You know, it's not the same as that random who hit me.
Not getting no insurance.
Right. And I don't know how insurance would work with that. I gotta figure that out. But I'm not gonna figure it out. But so Jesus is saying the evil one does is do that. When the evil one, it's almost like Jesus is saying, when the evil one is trying to abuse you, take it to the next level. And that's how it's been interpreted. Which is why she can shoot him and then, or shoot his brother and then he can hug her. It's one of the verses that people use to say, that's Christ-like. This is one of the verses. Even though, to be honest, that's not what Christ was saying. You thinking or you want to speak? Because you got that face.
I'm trying to recall a scripture about, because we know Jesus talks about loving your enemies, but I'm trying
that's
to
the next one
recall
too.
Where it says that you do not render evil for evil.
That was Paul.
Yeah, okay, so that was Paul. Talking about heaping coals of fire on their head. It's the equivalent of heaping coals of fire on their head when you return kindness for evil. And goodness for evil.
We could deal with that text too. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Because that's a good text to deal with. Because even that text is one that's taken out of context a lot. Do not render evil for evil. I think it's in Romans, I could be wrong. Hey, Romans 12. No boy know the scriptures. Oh, 1 Peter also says it too. Ooh, that's a good text too. We're going to look at both of these. Why not, my G? We ain't got nothing but time. All right, real quick. If someone can go to Romans 12, verse 17. And someone else can go to 1 Peter 3:9. You do 1 Peter 3:9? Because we need to, I want to get this. I mean, I'm not going to say this is going to be an exhaustive conversation and we'll never talk about it again. But I want us to really get an understanding as to what's going on. Because we are saying things and we're teaching things that is not correct.
I got the rule.
Go ahead.
Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all.
In the sight of who?
All.
Okay, keep that in mind. 1 Peter 3:9, go ahead.
I'm not ready.
Oh, my bad. You still using the paper Bible, so you got to flip?
No, I just don't have the app. My phone ain't got storage.
is 1 Peter 3:9?
Yeah, 1 Peter 3:9. Like the old saints, 3:9.
Okay, do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Once again, yeah, go ahead.
So what are you saying that? So you saying that him giving her a hug was not appropriate? What are you saying?
I am saying now. I'm not talking about from a personal point. I'm talking almost as the people representative. What I am saying is the hug. A lot of time, or the idea that the hug makes it Christ-like, comes from this perspective that this is how I don't repay evil for evil. So we look at don't pay evil for evil, or even that part where it says return evil with good or with a blessing. Mm-hmm. We look at that and say, yeah, so because she was wrong, I am going to go out of my way to like show love, pretty much. And it's not like that's wrong. It's not a matter of whether or not that's wrong. Romans kind of says it, and then I'm going to deal with what Jesus says. But Romans kind of says it very interesting, because he says, don't repay evil with evil. I'm looking for the verse. 17. Never. Yeah, never pay back evil for evil to anyone. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. And then the next one, if possible, as far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. See, so these are the things, right? Because even when we talk about leaving room for the wrath of God, people look at that and say, that's not Christ-like. And someone said, I'm going to leave space for God to deal with this. You can't wish evil on someone. I just said I'm leaving space for God to deal with this. So this idea that says, if something bad happens to my oppressor, then somehow Satan is in the mix. It's like a subliminal message. That's like, I gotta pray. Because the truth is, when you pray blessings, it's because you don't want the wrath of God to be. Because what God is going to do to that person, it doesn't even compare to what you could do. But that's the whole reason why you leave it alone. Because you'll always fall short to what should come if that person was not to repent. The reality is the space is so that person can turn around and no longer be wicked. But we will try to make it like, he even said it, I don't even want you to go to jail. This woman killed your brother, and I'm using him as an object lesson, right? This woman killed your brother in cold blood. And you're like, no, don't take her to jail. I just want what's best for you. And the idea is, if she suffered the consequences of her actions, that's not best for her. I don't want you going to jail. I want what's best for you, because that's what he would want. What is best for her?
Prison.
Only God knows for real.
Only God knows for real. And that's a fact. But this idea, but look at the idea. I don't want you to go to jail. I want what's best. These were his words. Why is going to jail not best for her? The idea of her going to jail is not best. And maybe there is this idea that no one should go to jail. And I don't know if he believes that no one should go to jail. Maybe. I don't know him personally. But I know for a fact, people are like, oh, that was Christ-like, but she should have got more time. And they ignore, right? That was Christ-like, but she should have got more time. That means jail was fitting for what she did. But they ignore how he even said, no, I don't even want her going to jail. They ignore that because of the symbol of him hugging her, what that looks like, the optics. Oh, yeah, that's forgiveness. That's Christ-like. It's a badge of honor. When if you look at the entire picture, I don't think we're seeing Christ. We're seeing what they want us to think is Christ. Let me put it that way. Because the reality is there is room for God's wrath. We don't like to talk about it. He's
the God of justice.
There's room. So how can we even, and you could be sad about, because I'm not dealing with emotions. Thank you. I'm not dealing with emotions. It's not feel good about the wrath of God coming on somebody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying leave room. Actually, I ain't even saying that's what Paul says. Don't take your own revenge. Leave room. So his hug wasn't wrong. Can I be very clear? His hug wasn't wrong. Mm-hmm. It's what people are doing with his hug. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. On both sides of the spectrum. Because the other side is saying that's slave religion. I personally believe he had to hug her. I believe had he not taken that embrace of love, he could not completely release her of the evil she did. I believe that embrace, like you said, it was for him, wasn't for her. I think he had to, because he would have just bottled it in had he not just, Go ahead.
I got a question. So is the whole turning the other cheek, and
thank you for bringing it back.
Is the running, like if someone does a mile and you do the 2 mile, isn't the 2 miles for is that for you? Is the whole turning the cheek thing for you?
Let me break it down. Because a lot of people got it mixed up.
Okay.
So let me break it down. Now to answer your question, yes, it is for you.
Okay.
But it's not. It's there's an understanding that you need to have, and this is why I love what Jesus says. Jesus says in John 10:10, I believe. Is it John 10:10? He says it in John 10 somewhere. Okay. He said, "I come that you may have life."
That's 10:10.
That's 10:10. Yeah, to kill, steal, and destroy, and life more abundantly. So Jesus' reason for coming, one of his reasons, is that we may have life and life more abundantly. Jesus is in the business of preserving life. And not preserving life in this earth, but preserving life eternally, abundantly. Right? When he talks about not an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, Jesus is not saying there isn't room for justice. What Jesus is saying is that there should be room for grace. Because every example Jesus gave, I need y'all to hear me carefully. I need y'all to know the Jesus you serve. Every example Jesus gave was a non-lethal example. He's not saying turn the other cheek so they can kill you. He's saying turn the other cheek that there may be grace. Because the eye for an eye means there's no room for grace. You pluck my eye out, I'll pluck your eye out. But if you pluck my eye out, okay, I'm going to need you to realize what you've done and see if there's grace. I'm giving you grace so you can repent.
So why is the tooth for tooth there if he's going to say...
Because there is a point where there is justice. Eye for an eye. There's a space for that. It's just not the first response. Because we should have been exercising grace. But instead we were using the law to continue to promote evil with each other. So, just like the woman who was caught with adultery in John 8, right? This woman was caught in adultery. The scriptures say, Moses said we should stone her. What do you say? And he said, he without saying, cast the first stone. And then they all walked away. Then he picked her up and said, who's accused you? And she said, no one. He said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. I'm asking you to repent. Your life was spared so you can turn it around. Not just to, oh yeah, we all just love each other. We're just going to hug each other. I mean the word love as an emotion, because Jesus, when he deals with love, he's not dealing with emotion. He's dealing with how we treat one another. Yeah, so he's like, so the whole point is, yes, there is a point where, okay, you pluck my eye out, you're not getting this, I'm going to pluck your eye out. Because I'm telling you, there is a repentive justice when you experience the pain you caused. Gotta say that again, because y'all just some people, because they act like that's not Jesus, but that is very much Jesus. Jesus says, "I come to set the captives free," etc., etc., etc. So it doesn't make sense to set the captives free if you're going to tell the captive turn the other cheek. It's not a matter of. It's never to keep you in oppression, and that's the problem that I think a lot of people are missing. People are using this word forgiveness like asking for justice or even demanding justice is somehow unchristlike. They're making it appear, and I know they mean well, but they're making it appear like if you desire for her to receive what is due to her, let me say it this way: if you don't desire to become friends with her, then you haven't truly forgiven her. No, that's not it. But that's why they love the hug so much. Because what a hug says is, I embrace you. And he even said that I love you like I love everybody else.
I think the point we have to understand is that forgiveness does not relinquish them from the consequences of their actions.
Absolutely.
Like, you're still going to do that time.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I'm releasing you from what you did to me and how it hurts me personally, but justice is going to have its way.
Right. But that ain't what he said, though. That ain't what he said.
We ain't talking specifically about him.
right. In general.
Even God is like it doesn't relinquish you from the consequences.
Absolutely.
And that's what he's telling us.
So me and you, we good.
Yeah.
Good meaning I am not going to seek revenge on you. Mm-hmm. That's good. Good doesn't mean we're friends now. No. Good doesn't mean I'm inviting you to the barbecue. Right. Good doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Good doesn't mean you're coming to the Jewish Tea celebration.
To allow that person to re-enter your life.
Right.
It doesn't mean that.
Yeah. And so this is the issue with saying, you know, he's such a bigger person because of the hug. But if you listen to everything, you got to listen to what he was saying. And not saying he's wrong. He's doing his best to process what happened. He's doing his best to process what happened. But if you continue to promote this idea that says, just hug your oppressor, just don't do anything. Just let it go. Let God have his way, but embrace them in the process. Look, if God is sending hellfire, I don't want to be that close to you, right? Because I'm going to get burned along the way. No, it's a reality that there needs to be a space that says, I'm forgiving you. I'm releasing you. And I pray that God forgives you. And guess what? God did forgive you. Like, this will not have eternal consequences if you give your life to Christ. He did talk about giving your life to Christ and all of that. He dealt with that. But he was not, people are trying to, they're using him as a symbol for the wrong ideas. That's my point. It's the same thing that they did with Dr. Martin Luther King. The whole nonviolent. They promoted this nonviolent passive movement so we can stay passive. When Dr. King, this is documented fact, Dr. King was able to be nonviolent because of the militant group keeping him protected. So while they're sitting doing lock-ins, there are people outside shooting. Dr. King scheduled lock-ins during certain times so the media could be there. He wasn't just going to sit there just to sit there. He wanted the footage. No, this is documented fact. He wanted the footage to hit the paper. So he said, we're going to do it at this time so the news can come. And if the time passed, they wouldn't do the lock-in. Because it wasn't about sitting in no restaurant or sitting. That was never what it was about. It was about creating a narrative to produce change. And it's hard for people to embrace that truth because now you see all these people, we're just going to be nonviolent. They're killing you. And you're just walking in a line. We're just not going to do anything because we're going to be Christ-like. Christ died for us, so we're going to die for this. It's like, that ain't, Christ died so you wouldn't have to. That's a fact. He was your substitute. And if it comes to death, it's for his glory, not for your cause. Woo! Woo! So people out here just, you know what I mean? And it's just not a true narrative of Christianity. It's not a true narrative of Christ. And I personally have an issue when we make Christ look like it's okay for us to be oppressed. Because he came to deliver us from oppression. So this Christianity that makes it look like, just hug your murderers. That's not it. Now, to be completely fair and completely unbiased, she is deeply sorry for what she did. She really is. She's deeply sorry for what she did.
Do you hear the 911, the dispatch thing?
Yeah.
She asked that.
Yeah, no,
it's different because she was not going after this man.
Correct.
It could have been anybody who was in her house.
Yeah.
Supposed her house, and she would have clearly shot them.
Right.
But she was in the wrong, and she wasn't like she was doing it as a hate crime against black people.
I agree.
That's the typical narrative of white cops and black males or black people in general, but that wasn't her general narrative. In this
situation. Because there were other things she did that kind of showed that she was slightly, I don't even know if she was slightly racist or she was just completely privileged. Because privileged white people don't know how privileged they are. Like they're completely clueless. So like, this is actually low key offensive. Like, like they have no knowledge, like, because they've never lived in oppression like that. So they don't know what it's like. And every time they get a taste of it, they hate it. But not enough to fight for somebody else's oppression. But that's a whole other conversation. I don't even want to deal with that. I want to deal with this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and I'm wrapping up now.
Can we also, because deal with the scripture, because the one I was thinking of earlier, I couldn't recall where it was, about the burning coals.
Yes.
That's actually in Proverbs 25, 21, and 22. Chapter 25, verses 21 and 22. I think it relates to what we're talking about.
Yeah. Because the idea... See, now, boom. Actually, thank you, because I was thinking about this text. But what I love about this text, this is why I asked about the hug. And Natalie Alexander, and I'm calling her by name because she's just amazing. She did point out how old girl needed that. She needed that hug for herself because she was just so much in distraught. I know a lot of people, they're not going to like her for saying that.
But she looked like she received it.
Yeah. And from that perspective, he would be applying it. If the hug was for her, he would be applying this verse. Because this verse, if you want to read it so everyone can hear it.
Okay. So, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you.
So this idea that, they're your enemy, so I'm just going to watch you suffer. That's not Christ-like. Mm-hmm. So if the hug was for her, it would be his way of exercising this scripture. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You really need this right now. I'm going to get, you still going to do this time. You getting this work. But I recognize that this is a need. And redemption is the goal of all believers. Mm-hmm. Reconciliation can be a consequence of redemption, but it's not a requirement of redemption. You can be redeemed and I'll never talk to you again. And we got to be able to say that. Whoop. Sorry. For the sake of my peace, I can't talk to you again. I just can't. You're redeemed. The Lord loves you. When we get to that other side, we can talk about it then. Right. But right now, I can't deal with you. And to make it seem as if someone is less Christ-like because that's the approach that they're taking, is a fallacy. Mm-hmm. Likewise, to think you're more Christ-like because you can show a display, because that's all that was. It was a display. Yeah. And I'm not saying it was ingenuine, but it was a display. Because he could have did that off camera and still would have got the same effect for him. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. That's a fact. Abby, she could have did it in the chamber. Judge wanted to hug her. She could have bring her to my chambers real quick. Gave her the hug.
Right. Nobody know why.
That was a display. Now the judge might have just forgot that this was I think she just effed up, low key. Sorry, Judge. You just didn't think it through. You know what I mean? You didn't think it through. You messed up. You didn't completely think it through. I think the brother was genuinely wanting to exemplify his love for Christ. And in doing that, he wanted to let her know because he wants to forgive her. And there is nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I applaud him for wanting to forgive her because that's how you set yourself free. I don't think it was because even doing what's right in the sight of everyone, I don't think he considered his own community. As a matter of fact, he said in his own speech, his family think he's crazy. He didn't consider them. And there is this line to, do you serve God or do you serve man? There's that line. There's that line that you gotta. So I'm not saying it's a cut and easy, this is clean cut. I'm not saying that. But I think there should be some consideration. Am I going to restore her and destroy my family? Because if it's okay for him to say that, then we need to get off these preachers whose families are breaking up because of the ministry. Because that's exactly what they're doing. And we say, oh no, your family's your first ministry. Keep that same energy. So it's not a clean cut thing. He didn't consider what that hug would have did for his family who's still grieving. He didn't consider what that hug would have did for his community that was supporting him in the process. He was thinking about himself. And I'm not saying that as it was wrong. I'm saying it more as it was irresponsible. I don't think it was responsible. And if he did think about it and said, God needs me to do that, then have your way with the Lord. He's going to do his good thing. But I personally don't think he considered all that. I don't think any of us.
Well, who would in that moment?
Exactly. Exactly.
I think he just felt and did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah. And if we leave it on that level, I think we're good. Mm-hmm. I think we need to stop symbolizing what he did. Making it a symbol of anything. Yeah. Don't make it a symbol of slave religion. Don't make it a symbol of true Christianity. Just leave it as he did. And boom, leave it there. And what we need to do is make sure that we are examining why we do what we do. And ask ourselves, because you know how people will cuss black folk out but will never cuss out a white person? I've seen it. I've seen it for myself. I don't think y'all ever seen it. I've seen it for myself. I've seen some things that show psychological damage. And vice versa. I've seen white people who disrespect black folks but don't see the disrespect. They think, As a matter of fact, it's in the medical field. When a black woman says she's in pain, you look at her like, oh, she can take it, she's black. They don't give her as much pain. Man, that's a documented fact. I'm not talking opinions. So we have to deal with that reality. When I'm with my wife and if Abby needs anything, I step up and say, no, she's going to get that. Yeah. But when they see me, they're like, yeah, we want these problems.
We don't want these problems.
And they don't want these problems. Because I'm not turning the other cheek. Because you ain't hit me. You messing with my wife. So while she turn the other cheek, I'm coming.
Your wife?
You don't want these problems.
Your wife turn the other cheek?
Sometimes, babe, you. I think you do when I'm around. Because when I'm not around, Abby be roaring. But I think when I'm around, she know I'm going to handle it. So she just be like, okay. Especially a little transparency for those of y'all watching on Facebook. Especially in the hospital. When the hospital be cutting up, she call me, she just know I'm coming up. Be like, I'm on my way. Abby you could hear the relief in her voice. She just she just know what it is. And I love the hospital. But okay, so my point is, and I believe, and I want to put Jesus in the right context. Jesus is not saying let the abuser abuse you. Jesus is not saying forgive to the point of contradicting justice. Because that's not Christ-like. You forgive so that they're released from your spirit, but you leave room for the wrath. Is your hand up?
No, okay.
No, that's cool. It is not okay to not consider your family and your larger community in doing certain acts, quote unquote acts, that will affect your family or community. You got to consider that. Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
So how do you hypothetically hug yourself? Like
hug yourself?
Yeah, like what if you need to be released from something and that's just something that you just need to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like how do you hypothetically hug yourself? Not necessarily the same.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I just hope not to be off topic.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, that's what fasting is for. That's what communion is for. That's what baptism is for. That's what praise is for. See, a lot of y'all not taking advantage. When you get to church and they got the music going, y'all sitting there, that's your chance to dance it out, release it. There's even an article out there to talk about what dancing does to the mind and all that stuff. There's a lot of ways to release it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta cry it out. Sometimes you just gotta be around those that love you. Sometimes the hug of somebody else just because they love you, it will heal you in ways that, you know what I mean? And so when you're trying to isolate yourself because the enemy doesn't want you to feel that embrace, that release. Anytime, and I'm a release a secret. Anytime I see one of my loved ones really hurting, I hug them. When I hug them, they always cry. Because they were trying to bottle it in. Not because they feel like it's right to bottle it in, but they feel like it's weak to let it go. Well, when they get that embrace, that love opens them up. But after they cry, they feel a lot better. They say thank you. It happens every time. When I see that they're not letting it go, I give them a hug.
Yeah, I'm not an emotional person. I mean, I don't think Law's ever seen me cry unless we in Paneo or something. But, definitely what he said, letting somebody you know who probably has your best interest, who most likely has your best interest, be like, yo, I need to talk to you about something. So that you get that love back no matter what you say. Unconditionally, I love you regardless. What's up? That person, tell that person. And definitely, I mean, meditation, quiet time, just be like, I definitely have had mornings where I forgive myself. I don't even know what I'm trying to until it comes up and you just I forgive myself or blah, blah, blah. And it'd be like, oh, I needed that.
And release yourself from the shame and the guilt, whatever it is. If there is shame and guilt, that's what we do when we go to church. We're not going to church. I know a lot of people go to church just to hear the sermon, and that's great, but it's more than that. Everything else is still ministry. it's about taking advantage of that. You know what I mean? That's why even here, I haven't invited you guys to it, but I have a notepad and a notebook for prayer requests that you can write down, and I have a little bucket thing that you can put it in, and I burn it on your behalf. Just the act of writing it and putting it in, like you're releasing it. You're like, yeah, like all of that plays a part. So it's not one answer. It's just what do you have to do, and then how many times do you have to do it? Because essentially you're treating your spirit. And it's like medicine to the soul, right? There's no medicine you take one time. Well, that means I say no. But most medicine that you administer yourself requires a daily or a length of time. There's certain things you need that for your own spirit. I got to do this several times. I got to go to the altar several times. Not because it's not done, but because I'm not done.
You can sit in emotion for grieving. That's an example of something that happened. But it takes time to process through. There's levels you got to go through to get through all of it.
Yeah.
You can't rush it, and you can't allow other people to give you a timetable. Because everybody is different. And then you also want to be careful that you could wake up one morning and be like, oh, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But then something later on could trigger it and you're right back where you was because you still haven't taken the time to deal with that.
Yeah.
Going through that process.
And that's natural, and that's normal, and that's okay. I know people think like, yo, why am I still dealing with this? Because you are. It's going to take you some time. There's nothing wrong with that. We like to rush it. Well, I do that. Yeah.
Some emotions are very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
You can't have your best, best on when you're going through.
That's right. Or until you learn how to, and we'll talk about that because I got a whole ritual that I do. And, I'll just share it out, right? So if why not, right? Because it's not like a secret or anything. But when I'm really feeling like really, really down, one thing, I have a playlist, number one. I have a playlist I listen to every morning. And that's just to set my day. But if for whatever reason I'm just like really, really down, I do a lot of self-reflecting personally. And I would really ask myself, like, what exactly is bothering me? What is the thing? Or what is it? And sometimes I don't even know what it is. It's just in the thought of reflecting on it. It's like a relief that just comes from me even trying to figure it out. Maybe because I realize there is nothing. I'm just feeling a type of way. I don't know. Yeah. But go ahead.
I do the same thing. And a lot of times, like, friends or family members that are close, they will want you to open up. And then, like, I know I struggle with opening up. But a lot of times I need to take that time where I'm just to myself, where I separate myself from everything because I want to process these feelings. So if I do open up, I have an understanding of what it is that I'm feeling.
Exactly.
Of course, sometimes people can't help you with that process.
Right.
But I don't know if it may or may not be the best thing. It's just the way I handle it.
No, it's a masculine thing.
On my own.
It's a masculine thing.
And I was thinking of that too, because that's something else we can dive into if you want to. But I just realized, like with men, they typically hold more in because we, whether it's cultural or whether it's whatever, we're raised with this idea that we gotta handle it.
Yeah,
like it's really, you could say it's ego, but it's also arrogance to think that I got this, no matter what it is. Like if you feel in this way, like you don't got it, it's not handled.
Yeah,
and then it's very unfortunate because this inner pain or emotion or hurt is not being dealt with. We end up channeling it in other ways, in negative ways. It comes out as aggression, or it comes out in all these different things. And I've experienced these things for myself, and that's one thing I do commend women for, is that they seem to be more free to cry and let things go. That's why I believe that they get over things like deeper hurt a lot easier than men, because they allow themselves to express those emotions. Men typically keep those emotions in.
Right. Well, if we're coming from a masculine versus feminine perspective, one book I recommend, The Way of the Superior Man. It's an awesome book. Ed, if you're watching, I know you're going to give a thumbs up to that. But when you're doing The Way of the Superior Man, fantastic book.
Who's it by?
It's by David Dita. And he does a good job in articulating masculine and feminine energy. And we talked about it before, but I'll just go over it again real quick, because masculine and feminine energy responds differently. They're not one and the same. Now, we all have both in us, so we can utilize either one whenever, but they're very much different. So when you are a man's man, your masculine energy is drawn to conquering, to overcoming. You know, that's like the way it is. So when you have a problem, it is manly to conquer it, to try to conquer it. And so one of the ways that men get over their issues is by self-contemplation. That is actually a very manly thing. But another thing that they do is through transmutation. In other words, they would take that energy and they'll put it in sports, or they'll put it in their job, or they'll put it in whatever. And the thing is, it's healthy to do that while you're processing it as a man. Because for a man to process it outside without first having a handle on it is almost like, in a natural sense, is almost like the man is asking another man to be the man for him. Mm-hmm. This is why you wait till you have a handle, because now that, okay, I figured out what's wrong, and now I can ask for help because this is what's wrong. That's just how men look at it. While women just want to feel it out. See, this is why when women go to men for advice, it's a problem. Because a man is thinking of solutions. He's hearing all this. You could do this, you could do that, because that's how men think. But women just want to fill it out. I just want to go through it. Once I go through it, I'm fine. Everything could be the same, but I feel better because I went through it. And men is frustrated because it's not ending. I need this to end.
Like we haven't arrived at a solution.
Yeah, so that's masculine. That's masculinity.
Because I'm like,
but that's not bad. That's just masculinity.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just I'm like, okay, this is the problem. Now let's get to a solution.
Yeah, that's
what are we
a
going
man.
to do? Are we going to stay here in this place? And
that's how men are.
Yeah, I do have to understand that is, the way, women think, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just like the way I'm like, I don't want to be in that place
Correct.
with you if we're just going to be sitting here. I would rather help lead you out of it, like support you out of it.
So this is what I got from the book.
Go ahead.
What I got from the book that was mind blowing is, because women want to go through it emotionally, all men have to do is make her feel better. Mm-hmm. You don't have to solve her problems. Yeah. Be the man that makes her feel better. And it was like, wow, that's actually very simple. Well, I say simple because, women, you really can't please a woman unless you know a woman. And that's because femininity wants to be seen. So a woman will intentionally, I use the word intentional very loosely. Let me retract. Right. A woman will subconsciously withhold information just to see how well you see her. If you see her, just her being seen makes her feel like valued. But when you constantly need her to express everything, it's like you don't see her. So you're like, what do you want to eat? So the whole, what do you want to eat? Whatever you want. Like, you as a man, when she says, just pick, what she's really saying is, how well do you know me? Yeah, that I want to see if you know me. And so most of the time men aren't paying attention because they're not taught to pay attention. So when you go through, and that'd be a whole other live that we can do. Or we might talk about when the camera goes off, y'all. But we through the rite of passages, we learn these things that help us. What's happening now is men, because of what I talked about in the beginning, funny how things come full circle. Without the father being around, and when a bunch of fathers aren't around, that means there are no uncles, there are no male cousins. Without that expression, men are left to figure it out on their own. And then through the strategy of the enemy, he has used music to feed us with stuff that is just inaccurate. It's bad information. I was just listening to the Baby's album, right? And I think he's whack. I don't know why y'all listening to him. Man's trash. I'm sorry. Y'all standards are very low, and I realize that we're still in this, it's a producer's world, because his beats are straight, but stuff he says, he's just trash, right? But one of the lines he says in there, he says so slick, he says, I don't ask for advice, I handle it on my own. I'm like, whoa, that's not manly. A man will come up with a solution, but there's wisdom in the counsel of many. So, hey, brothers, I'm thinking about doing this, what you think? And through their experience, they'll say, hey, nah, maybe you should go this way. Or, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, but blah. You know what I mean? But this idea of, I don't do that, that's not, you don't feed that to this generation.
It's but it sounded like you kind of contradicted yourself, because you said men figure it out.
They figure it out and then they present. They don't present until they figure it out. So if I'm having issues with my wife, let's say I'm having issues with my wife, a typical man, because this is all generalization. A man is not going to say, hey, guys, I'm having issues with my wife. What can I do? They're going to ask you, well, what are the issues? You're like, I don't know. Well, you need to figure it out. See what I mean? So you can't. But a woman will be like, oh man, I'm having issues with him. Like, oh girl, I be having issues too. And y'all just talk about how we all go through issues.
That is so funny.
That's not what men do.
That's exactly how I am.
That's
I'm
crazy.
That's crazy. Because like we're dealing with female friends, it's like I'm waiting on a question. I'm waiting on you to get to the point. It's like she's just going on and on and on and on.
Exactly.
I'm like, what are we talking about here?
I need the specifics. Please.
She just wants to go through it.
What are the facts?
Just be there with her. Yes.
It's an easy script.
Absolutely.
And then what? Girl, you crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Just be there.
Right.
As long as you're there. That's it. So it's really just how masculine and feminine energy works. It's not a right or wrong. It's just how it is, And when you understand that, you don't try to correct something that doesn't need correction. What a man will do is say, all right, I'm having a problem with my wife. I feel like she doesn't have any confidence in me. Every time I make a suggestion, it's like a rebuttal. Then the men will be able to be like, oh, because now it's definitive. This is what's going on. What can I do? And they will give the solutions, and then they'll play ball. You know what I mean? And everything is good. But if he doesn't know what the issue is, he's just like, yo, I'm just not vibing with my wife. He's going to take that time to figure it out. What is the issue? And after he figures out this is the issue, a wise man will then seek the counsel. Say, this is the issue. I need counsel here.
So what do you think is going on when it comes to emotional things?
With men, okay. So now I don't know how you're going to receive this because you're a woman, right? And no offense to you, but when it comes, men have emotional issues, and men will have to cry and all that stuff. That's very masculine. That happens. And men will do that around other men. They will. But you even correct me if I'm wrong on here. Most men would either rather cry by themselves or cry with a woman. Because because feminine, and that's feminine energy. Yeah. We all have it.
Okay.
The energy helps you release.
Exactly.
I can't.
No, but you just said it. You're a woman. I'm about to be very feminine right now. So I'm comfortable being feminine with you. And that's why when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Because now he can be feminine with his wife without her looking at him like he's a female. But no woman expects a man to live in that space. If a man lives in the space of emotions, she's actually not attracted to him because that's not manly. So all he does is cry.
So real quick, what's the job of a woman in a relationship? Is it just to solicit the emotion out of a man? Or?
She fulfills the relationship. A man directs it, the woman fulfills it. She makes it better, but he makes it go somewhere.
Oh.
So this is why, if a man ain't moving the relationship forward, she gets bored. But it's like if a man was to go to his girl and say, we about to go on vacation. We're going here, that. These are the dates. I already got the tickets. Just pack your bags. Her mind is thinking of all the ways she's about to make this thing dope. Mm-hmm. She's just going to make it dope. She ain't even going to talk to you about it. But she's expecting you to have direction. But if you say, hey, but I'm thinking about going on vacation. Where do you want to go? She's like, why are you asking me? Like, where do you want to take me? Like, that's kind of just how her mind. But she may, and I'm saying in general, because she may say, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there. But she'll give you options expecting you to make a decision. And if you say, well, just think about come back to me, you turned her off in so many levels. Because, like, bruh, direct. I'm going to fulfill, you direct. Where are we going? That's why, like, if a man doesn't lead it to marriage, she feels like, what are we doing?
Asking, what are we doing?
Yeah. She could literally be like, yo, let's get married.
As a man, you screwed up somewhere.
Yeah.
She's asking that question.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh,
you know you
that's scary, because I heard the what are we question way.
I mean, the what are we question is a different question. We may have to talk about that offline.
Yeah, we may have to go.
Yeah.
It's not just what you verbalize, though, but it's what they feel.
That's right.
Like, you can say, this is what it is, and this is all it's going to be.
Nope.
But if she feels something else, or if you presenting something else.
Yeah, because she can make up a whole story in her mind.
Based
on the things that you do without having conversations.
Yep. And it's real.
So,
hey, listen, Facebook. I'm gonna give y'all some reflection questions. We're gonna wrap up, but I'm not gonna play the piano again today because my sustain pedal is broken. But I just want y'all to think about the reasons for forgiveness. Are you forgiving to reconcile? And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying if that's what you want to do. Are you saying, I want to be in right relationship with you? That's what reconciliation is. Just ask yourself, that what it is. Are you just forgiving to release them from having that authority over you? Which is what I recommend. Release it so that you're not bearing it. You don't need to be friends with them to do that. You can simply say, hey, you know what? By God's grace, you don't even have to worry about this anymore. And you go that way, I go this way. And it's just that simple. It really is just that simple. As far as how we all process forgiveness and stuff, it's not our call to really say that was right or wrong in a very specific case. All we could do is ask ourselves, what was your reason? And then guide the reasoning. And note to what I said, guide the reasoning. Because at the end of the day, we can't tell each other what to do. We just cannot do that. We'll be wasting our time. But we can show where our reasoning could be flawed and where our reasoning is on point. Sometimes when you know the reason, things make more sense. I get it. I see why you did that, and I understand. None of us are talking to this brother, so let's just all stop judging this guy, all right? We don't know why he did what he did. And our triggers are our responsibilities. It's not his fault that you feel some type of way, okay? And on that note, I'm going to say peace, blessings. I'll put the link up so y'all can give. You know, we're going to have a really dope conversation offline. Or, you know, I might even start another live. Why not? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Nah, I'm not. We just going to have the conversation here. Y'all just going to miss it. Boom. You're officially dismissed. Peace.